Gene Okerlund professional career. Early career. After studying broadcast journalism, Okerlund landed a job as a disc jockey at Coil, a popular radio station in Omaha, Nebraska. Okerlund would later move to Minneapolis, working for a local television station working in the front office. American Wrestling Association, 1970 to 1984. Okerlund left the radio industry for a position at the American Wrestling Association, AWA, in 1970, where he occasionally filled in for ailing ring announcer and interviewer Marty O'Neill, eventually becoming O'Neill's permanent replacement by the end of the decade. World Wrestling Federation, 1984 to 1993. He would stay with the AWA until the end of 1983, when he was one of many AWA personnel to join the expanding World Wrestling Federation, WWF. He would stay with the WWF for 9 years as their top interviewer, and was host of such WWF shows as All-American Wrestling and Tuesday Night Titans. In 1984, Okerlund and Hulk Hogan faced Mr. Fuji and George Steele in Minneapolis. He was supposed to stay on the apron and let Hogan fight, but when Hogan gave him a high five, the referee mistook it for a tag. Okerlund had to go in, but before his opponent touched him, he quickly got out of the way and tagged Hogan back in. The result, Okerlund pinned Mr. Fuji for the victory. On March 31, 1985, Okerlund became the first person to sing the national anthem at WrestleMania, doing so at WrestleMania I. On November 12, 1985, Okerlund, along with Hulk Hogan, Bobby Heenan, Ricky Steamboat, Davey Boy Smith, Corporal Kirchner, Dynamite Kid, and Big John Studd, appeared on the A-Team. Okerlund was also part of one of the most infamous bloopers in pro wrestling history at WWF SummerSlam 1989. Okerlund was set to interview WWF Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion Ravishing Rick Rude and Rude's manager Bobby Heenan prior to Rude's title defense against the Ultimate Warrior when the SummerSlam backdrop fell backwards. The shot of the SummerSlam backdrop falling can be seen in the video induction of Mean Gene at the WWE Hall of Fame in 2006. Okerlund then turned around and said, "Fuck it," along with some other words with no audio. The cameras then cut away to a live shot of the crowd, with play-by-play announcer Tony Schiavone and color commentator Jesse Ventura attempting to restore order. After a short while, Okerlund's interview with Rude and Heenan went as planned. According to a shoot interview with Okerlund, conducted by RF Video, the SummerSlam 1989 blooper was actually taped beforehand. Okerlund explained that the wrong tape was aired during the live broadcast. Meanwhile, a frantic Vince McMahon was on a headset instructing Jesse Ventura to cover for Okerlund. Ventura instead made fun of Okerlund's on-air gaffe and jokingly regarded Okerlund as a troublemaker. Okerlund also made another unscripted gaffe when on live TV near the end of the 1992 Royal Rumble PPV. He, while doing his interview, famously turned towards someone off camera and said, "Put that cigarette out," then went right on with his announcement. World Championship Wrestling, 1993 to 2001. Okerlund appeared at SummerSlam 1993 and made his final WWF appearance on the September 18, 1993 edition of Superstars. He then left the WWF entirely when his contract expired. He stated in an RF Shoot interview that although he probably could have renegotiated a new contract, he was never actually offered one, thus opting to become an interviewer for World Championship Wrestling, WCW. He claimed at the time of his hiring with WCW that he had not been on speaking terms with McMahon for the past few years he was working in the WWF. He debuted on the November 6, 1993 edition of WCW Saturday Night. 3 years later, his contract expired with WCW and he was off television for 2 months in the fall of 1996. His final appearance was at WCW Fall Brawl on September 15, 1996. Okerlund had reached out to the WWF once again to be rehired, but he was immediately rejected. Mike Tenay took over special interviews in the pay-per-view reports. Okerlund signed a new contract with WCW and returned on the November 11, 1996 edition of WCW Monday Nitro. After that, He was with WCW until it was sold on March 26, 2001 to the WWF. During an interview with Booker T, Stevie Ray, and Sister Sherri at Spring Stampede, 1997, Okerlund was involved in another infamous botch when Booker T accidentally shouted out during an interview, "Hulk Hogan, we comin' for you, nigga." With Booker T noticeably immediately regretting his use of the epithet and Sherri trying to hold back laughter after the error. Always considered a neutral commentator throughout his career, he was given a dirty old man gimmick by Vince Russo in WCW, where he would stare at the breasts of the women he interviewed and make inappropriate, lustful comments toward WCW interviewer/announcer Pamela Paulshock. Okerlund wrestled twice in WCW. The first was in mid-2000 when he and Buff Bagwell faced Chris Kanyon and fellow announcer Mark Madden, with Bagwell and Okerlund winning. However, Madden wanted Okerlund back in the ring the next week in a one-on-one matchup. The two did wrestle again and Okerlund won the match with the assistance of Pamela Paulshock. Return to the WWF WWE, 2001 to 2019. Shortly before WWF's purchase of WCW in 2001, Okerlund rejoined his old promotion, renamed WWE in 2002. His first assignment back with WWF was the Gimmick Battle Royal during WrestleMania X7 on April 1, 2001, along with Bobby the Brain Heenan. He would go on to host WWE Confidential in 2002, which lasted for 2 years. Gene also hosted WWE Madison Square Garden Classics, a weekly series, airing on the MSG network, featuring classic WWE matches that took place at Madison Square Garden from the last 4 decades. He's also the host for the WWE Classics On Demand Hall of Fame section, which takes a look at a different WWE Hall of Famer each month. Okerlund was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame on April 1, 2006 by Hulk Hogan. During his acceptance speech, he quoted a Bob Knight speech and requested to be buried face down upon his death so his critics can kiss my ass. In June 2008, Okerlund began hosting WWE Vintage Collection, a program which showcases archive footage from the extensive WWE video library. On April 4, 2009, the night before WrestleMania 25, Okerlund inducted longtime WWE ring announcer Howard Finkel into the WWE Hall of Fame. Okerlund conducted the interviews on the 3-hour Old School episode of Raw on November 15, 2010, where he interviewed John Cena, Randy Orton, members of the Nexus and Mae Young in similar fashion as to how interviews were done in the 1980s. Okerlund also appeared in a few Old School merchandising segments, promoting WWE's new Old School merchandise line. Okerlund made an appearance at WrestleMania 27 in a segment with The Rock and Pee Wee Herman. On April 10, 2012, during the WWE SmackDown Blast from the Past, Okerlund teamed with World Heavyweight Champion Sheamus, in a winning effort, against the team of Daniel Bryan and Alberto Del Rio. On the December 17, 2012 edition of WWE Raw, Gene Okerlund appeared alongside Jim Ross and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat to announce the winner of the Slammy Award for Match of the Year. On March 4, 2013, Okerlund appeared at the second Old School Raw for Mae Young's 90th birthday party, which was interrupted later by CM Punk. On January 7, 2014, Okerlund made an appearance at the third Old School Raw, in which he made references to the premium rate wrestling hotlines of the 1980s and 1990s. Okerlund inducted Mr. T into the WWE Hall of Fame on April 6, 2014. From April to June 2014, Okerlund was a regular cast member on the WWE Network original reality show Legends House. In November 2016, Okerlund became the narrator for the WWE Network original animated series WWE Storytime. On January 22, 2018, Okerlund made his last appearance on WWE TV, appearing on the 25th anniversary episode of Raw to interview AJ Styles.